That song, for the people who might not have understood the Spanish, has a line in there about cantando se me alivian las penas,
yes,
y cantando se me olvida el dolor.
Yes.
Which means singing, my sorrows are healed, and singing, I forget my pain. That's sort of a theme in a lot of Latin American music, no matter what country you're from. I'm from Mexico, and you hear that a lot. From Cuba, anywhere, the idea that music, that dancing, singing, is a way of, somehow, is cathartic, you know, is a way of getting past pain and sorrow, suffering. In this next song, which we're going to hear, is called Negrito, which I guess it would translate as, considering the controversy of the day, I'm not going to say little black boy, but that's what it translates as. And it's a funny story in a way. It's about a little black boy that paints his face white,
yes,
as a way of passing for white because he thinks he'll have a better life.
Yep.
It might get a job or whatever it is, and then, but he realizes that he's made a mistake,
it, yeah.
and that he should remain what he is. What inspired that song? Is there something in specific, or?
It was a specific news that I heard on Colombia many years ago. I was like 12 years old, and I heard that a little black boy in my city, in Cali, drank Clorox to become white, and he didn't die, but of course he was in the hospital. And that story, that news struck me very much, because I said, wow, I cannot believe it. And racism is a reality all over the world, even though we want to change the names and we cannot say some words, and we cannot. In Colombia, we can say negrito without a problem, but here it's a little bit more complicated. But I felt very inspired, but I thought about writing a song someday about it, but I didn't want to say drink. You know? So I put the metaphor of painting his face, but then when he look at the mirror and he finds himself white, he says, no, this is not who I am, and then he cannot take the painting off. And the song is just about that, about wanting to become somebody you're not. And sometimes I sing this song in schools, and then the children tell me, that's a very sad story, but it still is a happy rhythm. So that's my intention, and it's not only mine. It's, as you mentioned before, in South America, carnivals take another level of importance, because for many people, of course the poorest people, the carnival of their town, every little town has the carnival, and it's sometimes 2 days, 1 week, 1 day, but that is the day of a year that they're happy, that they can be proud of who they are. For example, the miners come down the mine dressed as the miners and feeling proud. The rest of the year is another story, but that day. So carnival takes another importance.
We're going to see that in another very important song that you're going to do a little bit later. Right now, before we start this song, could you just tell us a little bit, the instrumentation that you use is part of what gives you a unique sound. It's part of the tradition of Latin America. Maybe you could help us perhaps introduce your band and
Sure.
show us a little bit of the instruments that you're using.
Well, Franco Pinna, who is our drummer, is the root of this group, because he's the one who knows all the rhythms, and he comes from Tucumán, Argentina, which is very close to Bolivia, so he knows all these Andinian sounds very well. And this instrument called the bombo legüero is the most important of the band, because it's only exclusively from Argentina, although in the other countries we have a similar version of it, but this bombo is Argentinian, and is like the main, como se dice, la espina, no? Como the root of the group, of this music. And then Roberto plays a couple of instruments. He comes from Ecuador, and Franco Pinna, and then Roberto Cachimuel, he comes from Ecuador, and he comes from a traditional family where everybody plays, sings, dances, composes, and I suppose you grew up like that, just like playing everything, which is very lucky, because we cannot even play our own instrument that well.
And so what is that?
He can play everything. So he plays charango.
Oh, very good.
Which is an instrument originally from where? Bolivia, maybe? All over, no? Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador. And all the quenas, which are the flutes, and all the pan flutes that are called zampoñas. Muestre.
Very good. Great, so let's hear Negrito.
So this is Negrito. This is based on a Venezuelan rhythm called tonada llanera.
Oh, that's right.
Da 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 dee da ya ya dee da ya ya da 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 dee da ya. negrito se ha pintado entera la carita de blanco y el corazón lo ha engañado al verse todo pintado. Hasta el diablo le ha rezado pa' amanecer despintado. El susto de verse blanco hasta el hambre le ha quitado y el negrito se arrepiente de haber querido ser blanco. Ay, 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 ay. Un negrito se ha pintado entera la carita de blanco y el corazón lo ha engañado al verse todo pintado. Hasta el diablo le ha rezado pa' amanecer despintado. El susto de verse blanco hasta el hambre le ha quitado y el negrito se arrepiente de haber querido ser blanco. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, negrito, anda a lavar, que negrito tú has nacido. Ay, negrito, anda a lavar, que negrito tú has nacido. Ay, negrito, anda a lavar, que negrito tú has nacido. Ay, negrito, anda a lavarte y negrito has de morir. Ay, ay, ay. Un negrito se ha pintado entera la carita de blanco y el corazón le reclama por haberlo traicionado. Pensaba que al verse blanco la vida le había cambiado, que iba a conseguir trabajo, que todo había mejorado, pero ahorita solo piensa, ay, ¿por qué quise ser blanco? Ay, 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 ay. Ay, negrito, anda a lavar, que negrito tú has nacido. Ay, negrito, anda a lavar, que negrito tú has nacido. Ay, negrito, anda a lavar, que negrito tú has nacido. Ay, negrito, anda a lavar y negrito has de morir. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. Gracias, thank you.
Well, that was terrific. I noticed in the middle of the song during the charango section, it had a little bit of a feel of a jam session, you might think of, because there was somewhat of improvising there, I think. And you guys played very well off each other. I wonder, there was a review in the Boston Herald in 2002 that I wanted to ask you about because I think it touches on a little bit of what we saw in the song. The writer said, with an exquisite voice, Gómez manages to sound like a pure folk traditionalist and jazzy pop adventurer at the same time. Well, you know, they're talking about the blend and the fusion, not just of the different Latin American sounds, but of what you incorporated by being in the United States and perhaps some jazz influences, some pop influences. Can you talk a little bit about that? Where do we see that in the music?
Yes, it's funny because I sometimes, especially in the United States, some people talk to me or talk about me as a jazz singer, and I don't consider myself a jazz singer at all. But I went to Berklee College of Music, which is a jazz school, so I know a little bit about the theory behind jazz, and maybe the chords are a little bit more jazz than folkloric. The musicians definitely come from the jazz scene, and they play jazz very well. So it's funny because I don't. But now jazz is a little bit is bigger than before, and also world music. Everything is world music, right? So it's funny. I don't try to consider myself in any of those categories, but maybe just about the songs. Everything for me is about the songs.
Right.
When I was in Colombia, I was singing also a little bit of pop. That happens maybe to all of us when we're teenagers. We want to be a rock star, a pop star. And then we mature, we grow up, and we learn that folkloric music is the best. No, it is of course not true, but that happened to me. Then I connected to, when I traveled to Boston, I remember the first day being at the school, and Berklee's a famous school for being with musicians from all over the world, and of course from people from here. So I was listening to all these, especially African-American singers, singing the real thing. And I was like, okay, maybe not. So what do I have to offer to blow their mind as they're blowing my mind? So I said, oh, how about the folkloric rhythms? So that's usually what happens. So I don't consider myself a pop artist, but of course I heard pop when I was a child. I heard salsa, I heard vallenato, I heard folkloric music, I heard flamenco. So it's like a mixture of everything, and I that's why I don't consider myself a folklorist, because I didn't grow up in a village playing folkloric music. I was influenced by American music. Cuban music has a huge influence. Argentinian music. So it's a kind of a mixture.
Very good. In this next song, we're going to hear something a little different, I think. Almita Mia, Little Soul of Mine. It's something of a love song, I think. There's something that I learned from you that was surprising. People will have a chance to buy your album outside after the show. I invite them to look closely at the writing on the album, because there's little kind of hieroglyphics looking things down beneath each word. Musiquita is the title, and underneath there's a little, and inside the title of the songs. They all have these little hieroglyphics that are just like, when I asked you what they were, you said, well, that was my special personal alphabet that I invented when I was a child so that nobody could read what I was writing.
Yeah, I have many secrets.
Yes, well, and since I'm a reporter, I want to know them. Is there some secret that you were trying to keep at the time? What is it that you didn't want us to know?
I wanted to... The basic reason is that I have two brothers, and one of them is 3 years older than me, so of course I liked his friends, but he couldn't know. So he once read, I always write since I learned how to write. I always write. I have many diaries, and I'm always writing. Every day, I think I write. And then my brother would, of course, read my diaries and learn that I was in love with his friends. So I created this language. It's basically just just like my own alphabet, And of course, since I was 12, I do this. So now I can write as fast as I can write in Spanish. Or I can write faster in that than in English, actually. In the CD, I put a little bit of
I guarantee you'll be amazed at the complexity of these letters.